The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to note that we're really not having a serious discussion about this because the discussion has been totally on the title of the bill and nothing about the provisions of the bill. The core provision of this legislation is a requirement that a 60% vote is needed to pass an unbalanced budget. And let's be serious. Every budget we considered this year is unbalanced. Even the Republican study budget, which is unbalanced. Any draconian deficit reduction plan, if it balanced the budget in 2 or 3 years, would be unbalanced this year and would therefore require a 60% vote. Now, I know it's hard, but think for a moment. Just think. Is it more likely, are we more likely to pass a draconian deficit reduction plan if we require a 60% vote or a simple majority? Think about it for just a minute. Are you more likely to pass a draconian deficit reduction plan if you require a 60% vote than a simple majority? If you believe that it is more difficult to pass a real deficit reduction plan that will cost many members their seats at a 60% than a simple majority, then you have concluded, I think rationally, that the passage of this legislation would make it less likely that we'd ever balance the budget. Now, once you require 60%, then all the budgets before us would require 60%, and the question is whether you're more likely to pass tax cuts or tax increases, whether you're more likely to have spending increases or spending cuts, since you got to get to 60% anyway. And so rather than just debate the title of the legislation, which is misleading, let's talk about the provisions of the bill. Now, there are a lot of different provisions of the bill. One, talking about not being serious, is Section 6 that declares that the provision of this article may be waived any fiscal year in which the United States is, quote, engaged in military conflict which causes an imminent and serious military threat to national security, and is so declared by a joint resolution passed by a simple majority. And if that doesn't scare every dictator in the world, every time we have budget problems, we'll drop a bomb on Libya, Iraq, Grenada, so that we can pass our budget with a simple majority rather than the 60%. But the basic core provision of the budget, requiring 60%, if everybody concludes, like I think just about everybody would, that passing a budget requiring a 60% majority rather than a simple majority would actually make it less likely that we'd ever get serious about the budget, means that this entire exercise is a question of whether we're going to make things worse or try to deal with the reality that if you got to pass if you got to get fiscally responsible, you're going to have to make some tough choices, like we did in 1993, where we passed a budget that was on the way to paying off the entire national debt. 50 Democrats lost their seats when they voted for that budget. Just a couple of weeks ago, the Republicans passed a budget that essentially repeals Medicare to help balance the budget, and I can guarantee you that a lot of Republicans are going to lose their seats as a direct result of voting for that budget. You have to cast career-ending votes in order to pass a serious deficit reduction plan, and requiring 60% will just make matters worse rather than better. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. The gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Conyers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.